It is forms of power sharing. There are 4 different forms of power sharing where we actually, have some kind of power. It is the government also which have power sharing, including different organs. The first point, power sharing is among different organs of the government. What are the different organs? It is the legislature, which makes laws, executive, which executes or implements the laws, and the third one, judiciary, which settle the disputes. Disputes can be between the government and the people, between the 2 state governments. So, power is divided among these 3 organs of the government. So, these 3 organs, they are having the same equal powers. So, we also call it as horizontal distribution of power. But no single organ can have unlimited power. Legislature controls the executive. Executive has to give a report to the parliament, to the legislature. So there is a system of checks and balances, so that no organ can have unlimited power. First form of power sharing, also called as the horizontal distribution of power. Second, among different levels of government, different levels, level from highest to the lowest, also known as vertical division of power, and we also call it as federalism. Government at different levels. In India, in other countries also where we have power sharing, we have government for the entire country, known as central government or union government. Then comes the state governments, and then the local governments. So they are from top to bottom. So also known as vertical distribution of power. Third, among different social groups. You remember Belgium's community government, in which we included the Dutch, the French, and even 1% Germans also. It means all the groups have been given power sharing. And one more example, you can see India, we have a concept of reserved constituencies. In the Lok Sabha election, some seats are reserved for scheduled caste and scheduled tribes. So here you can see even the people who are backward, scheduled caste and scheduled tribes, even we have given them power sharing also. So when we include these different social groups, it's again a different form of power sharing. Last, among political parties, different parties contest election. Sometimes one single party holds the power, but nowadays in our country we have a trend of coalition government. More than 2 parties controlling government. Recently we have NDA, BJP plus allies. It is the government being controlled by different political parties. And now the pressure groups and movements. Pressure groups, though they are not involved in government, they are least bothered about the government functioning, but still they are the part of the governmental meetings, the organizations being made by government, discussions being held by government. So they also pressurize the government to work for the different sections of society. The ultimate motive of political parties, the government and the pressure groups is to work for people's welfare. So these are the 4 different forms of power sharing. So let's have a quick recap in the form of question answers. Okay, first, what is the extent and ethnic composition of Belgium? As we discussed in the beginning, extent, the boundaries, okay, and the ethnic composition, like the Dutch speaking 59%, French speaking 40%, and 1% German speaking of. Okay, then we have discussed about sources of tension between the French and the Dutch, because the French, being in minority, have the advantage of development, progress. That is why there was conflict between the French and the Dutch. We have also seen the ethnic composition. I told you about the composition of Sri Lanka. Apart from Sinhalas, there were Tamils also, the Sri Lankan Tamils and the native Tamils. We have discussed about the majoritarianism. No power sharing, it means the people who are in majority controls the power. That was the majoritarianism. And then we have discussed the measures. Measures were nothing but the 1956 Act, in which the preference was only given to the Sinhalas, their language, preference to them in the university, education, government jobs, and even in their foster their religion also. And then we have seen how this resulted actually in a civil war, destruction between the tension between the Sinhalas and the Tamils. And because of that civil war, a lot of destruction, bloodshed, people, they left the country living as refugees. So all economic development comes to a standstill. Then we have seen in both the countries that Belgium, because they had a power sharing model, there was peace, there was prosperity. But Sri Lanka did not have power sharing. They have a majoritarian form of government. So they have civil war, they have bloodshed, they have killing. Economic development comes to a standstill. So that is how we have seen that power sharing is very desirable. We discussed two different sets of reasons, prudential and moral. And then at last we discussed about different forms of power sharing. Power can be shared among different organs of the government, between different levels of the government, and between different social groups, and at last different political parties, pressure groups and movements. So first you try these questions on your own, and then we'll be giving you detailed answer to these questions.
Now subscribe to Bright Tutee course at ₹1 per day only. Download Bright Tutee app from Play Store and get the online courses prepared by competent and experienced teachers for different education boards of classes 6 to 10. Bright Tutee courses are available for the subjects of Math, Science, Social Science, English and Hindi in English and Hindi medium. Bright Tutee follows 3-step approach, that is learning, assessment and exam preparation. In learning, topic-wise video lectures with explanation of concepts and discussion of textbook examples and questions are available with the solutions. In assessment, topic-wise online MCQ test, practice assignments and chapter-wise question bank are available with the solutions. In exam preparation, previous year's question papers, sample papers and model test papers are available with the solutions. Sign up today on Bright Tutee and avail your courses at affordable prices.